Hey, what's up? This is Aphex Twin here. You already know what time it is. After however many months of searching, finally got myself a pair of BBS Bambas, and specifically ones in one of my favourite models and favourite colours too. This brand has been pretty popular over the last couple of years within the techwear community, but with fairly low quantities of this stuff being made, fairly high prices too, there's not a massive amount of material out there about it. So I've gone ahead and got myself a pair of these BBS Bamba 5 in the light grey object dyed colorway. These ones were, I believe, from SS20, so they're pretty current. We're going to be going into some more detail about this shoe, including looks, comfort, sizing, styling advice. Oh, good throw. And we can't avoid talking about the price as well, because I got this pair of sneakers here. You may have seen these before. These cost about £100. And these cost about £350. That's quite a significant difference. So is it worth the upgrade? Well, let's find out. These are not the easiest shoes to get hold of either, particularly in the larger sizes that I wear, so I'll also give some ideas for places you can go if you are looking to pick up a pair of these or any future Bamba models for yourself. The first thing to notice about the 11 by BBS Bamba sneakers is that although they're not always officially described as such, they are effectively a collab with French technical performance brand Salomon. Although BBS do their own shoes as well that are not kind of sportswear branded in any way, they're very aesthetically different and, well, we're not going to talk about those. In the case of these Bambas, the models closely resemble or borrow features from existing Salomon shapes. So these here, the Bamba 5s, they are close in a lot of ways to the XT6 softer ground. They use a same overall silhouette, same midsole and outsole, but with a reimagined upper. And the Speedcross that I held up before, they're closer to the Bamba 1. But nonetheless, I think we can still make some comparisons and draw some similarities between these and the mainline Salomon shoes that I also have. And of course, the first thing you are going to notice about this shoe that sets it apart from any other Salomon sneaker, and in fact, almost any other sneaker on the market, is this unique object dyed finish. This is created by applying dye to the shoe after it's been fully made, and to my understanding, done by hand. The result is clear, and up close you can really see the subtleties of this effect. It really can't be understated the unique patterning to every individual part of the upper. Dye is taken to the different materials by different amounts, really separating the panels far more than on a regular pair of shoes. And most importantly, these are brightness or saturation differences rather than colour. So you can both really see these different elements and materials they're made from, whilst keeping the overall look of the shoe very focused using the same palette. Within each individual area, you'll also see these uneven textures and finishes, giving a genuinely unique look. Not only are these Bambas different to every other Bambas, but even my left one and my right one look different. Personally, I think it's quite cool. I quite value the idea of a product which is, to an extent, totally unique. You've got splashes of inky dye around the midsole as well, which I think looks great, particularly as it gives this kind of 3D effect. And on the sole, generally, I like how the dye is taken to it to make it look dirtier and more worn out than the rest of the shoe, as if you've been walking through black tar or sludge or something, and you've just given them a quick wipe off. There is absolutely a lot to appreciate here texturally on what is already a fairly complex shoe with all of these different material panels on here. And it's something that very few sneakers can match. The closest thing I can think to this is the A Cold Wall Vomero 5, the solarized version specifically, and good luck getting a pair of those. The effect is grungy, dystopian, apocalyptic, and that meshed with the futuristic performance element that Salomon brings to the table. It's really no wonder that these are becoming more and more popular in techwear circles, and why I personally have been so interested in picking up a pair. It's worth mentioning though that this dyeing technique is available in a bunch of different colours. That's something that changes season to season, and there have been some pretty jazzy ones. We've got My Little Techwear and Boris Bidjan Strawberry. And although on this pair that is by far the standout feature, not every pair of BBS shoes is object dyed, so if you'd rather focus on the overall futuristic aesthetic than that unique effect, then there are still options for you. But as I say, that object dyeing ties in really well with the various panels that make up the upper of this shoe. They really interact in a very kind of complex way, I suppose. The dye is taken to each little panel differently, so you've got loads of different tones over this thing. Kind of reminds me, I think the light grey pair have a uniquely, slightly metallic look about them. It kind of reminds me of like corrugated iron sheets over the top of each other, or like metal plates kind of welded to something. Even the oversized stitches around the opening add to that look too. But it's not all about the object dye, there is some branding changes here too. You've got some tactically placed 11s, as well as some of the original Salomon branding that you would expect. On some of the lateral sides and on the midsole, you've got descriptions of the various Salomon technologies, for example. And there's a little S imprint right on the toe there on the front. But in general, this is not the most branded of the Bambas, especially where the 11s come in. If you like to incorporate logos and stuff more into your wardrobe, then something like the BBS Bamba 2 might be more up your street. If you unzip those, you can show everyone how much you love Stranger Things. But the object dye is absolutely enough to define these shoes as 11 by BBS, and anyone with a trained eye is going to be able to spot that very easily. In fact, even people who have no idea what this stuff is, I think will still be able to tell that this is a pretty unique piece of kit. So yes, this unique process absolutely gets you something which you are not really going to find anywhere else. So certainly in the looks department, I think these are great, but what are they actually like to wear? First of all, we'll talk about the fit of these. I purchased these in my regular US size of a US 12. However, that equates to half a size up in my UK size and 2/3 of a size up on my EU size, which sounds a little bit confusing. This is effectively because they describe these sizes slightly differently to a lot of other brands. So in the Salomon Speedcross, for example, I bought these in UK 11, which is my normal size, but that actually equated to half a US size down. As a result, I found those a little bit of a snugger fit that I would like. These Bamba 5s being a UK 11.5 or an EU 46 and 2/3 are definitely on the more snug side than the looser side, but they're definitely a better fit than those Speedcross are. That's probably why many UK retailers will stock 9.5, 10.5, 11.5 and not the full sizes, because they kind of equate to 9, 10 and 11 respectively. So from my experience, stick to your regular US size, but if you're thinking EU or UK, go up half to the next one. Some people have said that on object dyed Bambas you should go half a size up compared to a regular Salomon equivalent. I've heard that described on the Bamba 2s and 3s. Might be true for those, I haven't experienced them directly so I can't speak to that, but on the Bamba 5s I definitely feel that them being half a size up compared to my Salomon Speedcross does make them feel noticeably looser, which means that if the object dyeing process has shrunk the Bamba 5s, it's not by as much as half a size, it's not by a particularly noticeable amount. On that shrinkage topic, you might notice looking at close-ups of the upper on each side, it does look like the material is buckled a little bit. That did lead me to believe, oh, maybe these have shrunk. Although comparing to the Speedcross, they also seem to have that slightly kind of wavy look on the sides as well. So I guess it's just something that's inherent to this material that maybe after a few wears it does kind of do that a little bit. But I don't really think it affects the look of them too much. It's not really very noticeable, especially when they're on. The good thing about these being derived from a Salomon shoe is that they provide a nice comfortable and supportive fit. They feel nice and stable and a slightly soft but responsive feel on foot. Further, the lacing system unique to Salomon is as effective here as on their mainline sneakers, and one of the best parts of the shoe from a performance perspective. It's quick, it's easy, it gives a clean futuristic look, and it provides a pretty unilateral tightness that does help lock your foot in. Although the Speedcross is a little bit lighter than this is not a heavy shoe by all means, and while it also lacks the oversized lugs and the super hard outsole of that shoe, clearly by looking at the outsole, it is designed for grip and overall outdoor performance. So it's not just designed for looks. The overall warmth of this I think is pretty average, pretty par for the course, so most temperatures you should be fine. In short, from my own experience so far, this is not something I have to think too hard about whether I should or shouldn't wear it. They're pretty comfortable and pretty appropriate for general all-purpose use, which is more than can be said for the Speedcross, which are way more suited to trails and soft ground terrain. Walking on pavement on those is not uncomfortable, but not as nice as the Bamba 5. Where you might need to think a little bit harder is on the styling. These are of course a grungy, a rebellious shoe, a kind of attitude that permeates pretty much all of the 11 by BBS line of clothing. Wearing a normie athleisure gear might fly with mainline Salomon stuff, but it's not going to bring out the best in the Bambas. It's the futuristic, it's the more unusual stuff that's really going to do that, and although these are not exactly a chunky shoe, I definitely consider wearing these with a slightly more relaxed pant, because these are very kind of eye-catching and I think that makes sense just from a balance perspective. Because of the textures, because of the interplay of tones really being at the forefront here, I think that would be a good thing to use on the rest of the outfit too. Get some nice layering pieces, nice complementary colours rather than loads of kind of clashing, bold, standing out things. I don't feel like I have anything which necessarily does that perfectly, but the good thing about the light grey colour is that it does still look quite nice with black. So a nice black, nicely layered outfit, I think that's still going to look fine with these. There are other cool examples out there on the internet though of people using the object dyed versions with lots of cool colours and other different combinations. The right colour is definitely something to consider because it will affect what kinds of other colours and what kinds of clothes are going to look best with these. I initially discounted the dirty grey ones. They look very, very brown in the product pictures, I think, but seeing actual people wear these and on feet and stuff, they don't quite have that look about them, so I think those could be quite nice with like olives and greens and browns and stuff. But as I said before, they've got all kinds of different colours over different seasons which are worth a look, and in fact non-object dyed ones as well. Overall, in terms of the silhouette though, I think the good thing about the Bamba 5s being so similar to a fairly regular looking Salomon shoe, as well as the Bamba 1s as well, these are definitely easier to wear and style and integrate compared to the much more futuristic Bamba 2s and Bamba 3s. Those two both look a lot more boot-like and a lot more overtly futuristic, so they'll definitely benefit from more considered pant choice, so you get that nice, the kind of smooth transition from one to the other. I think these are a great shoe overall, and to me it really encompasses what this style of fashion is all about. You are encompassing things which look very unique, very clearly fashion focused, with that performance centric element, which means that it's something that is both going to look great and look very different to your regular clothes while still holding up to all kinds of conditions. I'd absolutely consider another model of these, probably the 2s or the 3s because they look quite significantly different to this, but they've even got slip-ons, for example, which are still pretty cool. But I think the BBS and the Salomon brands are both something, Salomon especially, which has been gaining prominence in fashion culture over the last couple of years. So I think there's definitely a subversive, cool element to buying this collab and getting involved with Salomon and 11 by BBS. Bambas might be extremely recognizable within this community, but stepping outside that, I think you will have people interested in exactly what these are. We can't ignore the pricing though and how much this factors into how much they're worth considering. As I said at the start of this video, the regular Speed Cross cost me about £100. These ones from HBX were about $350, and you can certainly spend more than that on Bambas. As we found through this video, the performance is fairly similar, so the differences are really in that object dyed finish, the 11 branding on there, the association with Boris Bidjan Saberi, and all of the what that kind of means as a brand, that cultural significance, and of course the idea that these are produced in much smaller quantities. These are a luxury and a unique product. They're not a mass market thing like the regular Salomon shoes are. All of these things have some value, different amounts to different people. Does that chalk up £250 altogether? To me, I feel like that extra amount is not unreasonable, considering there is clearly extra time and extra effort that has gone into these with this garment dyeing process, and it is simply not something that can be made in massive quantities. And whenever you've got low quantity product, lower supply, then you're inevitably going to have things that are higher priced. And 11 by BBS is somewhat of a luxury brand, so it stands to reason that that would elevate the price of things. There's also not really an alternative to a garment dyed pair of shoes like this. Or is there? It is of course possible to recreate this dyeing process yourself. Because they are object dyed, i.e. completed object and then dyed, you can buy a completed object and then buy some dye and go ahead and dye it. That of course is very much an experimental process. It is always hard to anticipate how this kind of stuff is going to come out, but I've definitely seen it done successfully before. Personally, I've not traditionally been much of a DIY kind of person, but if you're interested in seeing how that kind of process might look, how it might work, then definitely let me know in the comments, because I am potentially prepared to get a pair of white shoes, sacrifice them to Satan, and see what happens. I'll do the science so you don't have to. If you do want to get a 11 by BBS pair of Bambas though, I will stick links to a couple of different retailers in the description. I got these from HBX, but there are quite a few places that do them. The other thing that I've got is I managed to get a list of every single retailer in the EU, every boutique that stocks 11 by BBS sneakers. So maybe I'll make like a Google Drive file or something, and I'll stick the whole list in there because there's a lot to check through. So if you're struggling to find a pair in your size or whatever, you could just go through those one by one and see if anything comes up for you. I think this has now been my longest sneaker review ever, so I'm going to call it there. But if you enjoyed this video, if you found it useful, please do give it a like because it is super appreciated. And as always, thank you so much for watching, and we will catch you next week with another video. Shout out to Young Hugh. If I don't see someone comment GeoBasket on this video, I'm going to be very upset. And shout out to Psychic Oracle. That is definitely a good point about the if you know kind of stuff, because I think even within hypebeast culture and the streetwear stuff, there's definitely those things where, yeah, they might not look like anything to the naked eye, but they are in fact some rare variant, or there is something special about them. So yeah, I think that culture kind of permeates a lot of stuff, and probably outside of fashion as well, to be honest. Thanks so much for making it all the way to the end of the video. If you want to catch some more, there's going to be links going up at the top there. And if you haven't subscribed yet, then I don't know what you're playing at, because we've got new videos coming out every single week, and you want to get in there first so you can leave the funny comments that get all the likes, and everyone loves you. You know how it goes. Anyway, thanks for watching again, and I'm out.